I mean, music is such an incredible blessing. We can't even like wrap our minds around all the different ways that it brings people together. It heals, it pays back. It's, and of course there are studies that show that people who do music, kids who do music in school, they get better grades. More of them go to college and stuff like that. And all that is true too. But it's also just like, the heart of it, like music is something that helps awaken people's souls.
Hello and welcome back to The Perch from the Wyoming Tribune-Eagle. I'm Noah Zahn, the local government reporter here. This week we are sharing a conversation our arts and entertainment reporter Taylor Staples had with William Intriligator. He's the conductor and music director of the Cheyenne Symphony Orchestra. That's who you heard at the start of the show. He lives full-time in Dubuque, Iowa, but flies into Cheyenne several times a year to work with our orchestra, something that he's been doing for the past 17 years. In the conversation, William discusses how he got into music and how he ended up in Cheyenne and what music has meant to him throughout his life. Here's that conversation now.
And you've been here for 17 years, right?
Yeah. I know, crazy.
Mm-hmm. Did you know your predecessor?
Yeah, a little bit. Actually, a funny story of that was that he was. He's a little bit older than I am, and so when I was still a conducting student, he was like almost like the TA kind of like main conducting teacher's assistant for this workshop that I did for a while. So I got to know him there, and then I mean he's well respected in the industry, especially with like early music, Baroque music, vocal music, and so yeah. I know. And then there's another predecessor, not my immediate predecessor. That's the guy I was talking about, Stephen Altop. Before him, there was a conductor, Mark Russell Smith, who was literally one of my teachers in grad school. So it's so funny because when I was in grad school, he was conducting the Cheyenne Symphony. And he would say, I can't give you a lesson next week. I'll be in Cheyenne, or that type of thing. So it's funny. It almost like planted a seed in the back of my mind that the Cheyenne Symphony was on my radar.
Yeah.
And it's so weird that then, yeah.
Oh my God. Was that back in Iowa that he was?
It was in Minnesota, the University of Minnesota.
Oh,
yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I need to know everything about your background because I feel like it's like so colorful and we've touched on it very briefly, but like, I'm just curious, has music kind of always been in your life in some capacity? Like, because I know you majored in it. It wasn't like you majored in something different. And then all of a sudden you were like, I have this musical passion and that would have been okay.
Sure.
Too. But yeah, like how did you get into it before college? And then what drove you to your major and like everything? How has music been a part of your life?
Well, unlike many classically trained musicians, it wasn't like a huge part of my life early on. Like I didn't start violin or piano when I was 3 or something like that. I was kind of a normal kid. I grew up in Southern California, climbed a lot of trees, and like just like hung out and like was into all the geeky things. I started instrumental music when I could start in school, in public school. I really wanted to play drums. My parents thought that would be too loud. They sent me back, said, pick something else. So I said, how about trumpet? And at that point, the trumpet, all the kids who wanted to play trumpet had already decided that the day before. So there were no school trumpets left. So I was like, yeah, I can play trumpet, but we need to get a trumpet. I told my parents. And then my parents said, well, we have this clarinet in the closet. Why don't you just play that? So it was totally not my choice at all.
Yeah.
But I knew I wanted to play something. Like somehow I was drawn to it. And my best friend was playing saxophone. So I just wanted to hang out with him in band. So it was, like, it wasn't like, I heard the sound of a symphony and I cried and I knew it. No, it wasn't like that.
Yeah. It was just like a general interest you kind of had.
Yeah.
But you got stuck with the instrument.
Full-on normal kid. Yes. And I got stuck with an instrument that I was like, okay, I guess.
I mean, sure. Yeah.
And the funny thing is that maybe because it wasn't my choice of instrument, but like I never practiced and I had a hard time. It did not come easily to me. It was like learning to read a whole nother language, right? And so I played in 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. And by the time I was in 7th grade in junior high, I was literally the worst clarinet player in the school. I was the last chair of the lower band. And that didn't bother me. I still had fun doing it, but I was still kind of confused. I didn't really know how to read music really well or anything. it's so funny now because I mean, like I have a doctorate in music, and I read these complex scores and stuff.
No,
but
it's crazy.
it's weird how it's changed. But like, so, and then, so literally one day in 7th grade changed my life because I was walking home and it was a warm day in Southern California. I had my backpack on my back and I was carrying my clarinet home from school, and I stopped at a convenience store to get some ice cream, and I set down my clarinet, opened the ice cream cooler thing, paid the man, and enjoyed that ice cream, and I forgot my clarinet. And so it was that night my parents were like, hey, where's your clarinet? So we went back to that convenience store, and it had been stolen, and I was in big trouble, and it was an important life responsibility lesson.
But was that the same clarinet you've had since 7th grade?
That was the one I had in 4th grade.
Okay. Oh,
from
wow.
4th to 7th.
Oh, wow.
And then I never found it again. Like it was stolen, and we couldn't find it in any pawn shops or anything like that.
Oh my God.
And I was really worried to tell my band teacher the next day because he had a really bad temper.
Yeah.
And so I, sheepishly went into his office and I said, I can't play my clarinet today. It was stolen. It was all my fault. And I owned up to it and everything. But I was worried he was going to lay into me because I already got it from my parents the night before. So, but he was super nice. And he said, William, it seemed like you were struggling with the clarinet. I remember he used those words. Yes, and it's true.
He like, said, maybe this was for the best.
Yeah. He's like, we need somebody to play the oboe, the bassoon, or the tuba. Would any of those interest you? And I was just so relieved he wasn't screaming at me. I was like, yes.
Yeah. Like, I'll take anything.
I'll take anything. So I picked the oboe because it was kind of close by. And I had once seen it before. So I had my first little oboe lesson from a 9th grader, big 9th grader that day. And something clicked. It was just so weird. I mean, oboe and clarinet, they're both woodwinds. So they're even, they look a lot alike. But for me personally, something was different. Like maybe I got to somehow be a part of the choice of the instrument. And it was at that time when you're young and you're figuring out who you are.
Yeah.
And my older brothers, they were in high school. They were smart and they had their own things. And music wasn't one of them. So somehow I think I must have not consciously thought about it, but realized that maybe this is cool and maybe this could be my thing or something like that. So I suddenly wanted to practice every day. I would go home quickly and I would practice my oboe. One time I practiced so hard that I actually wasn't used to the different kind of air that it takes to play an oboe compared to a clarinet, and I actually did faint once. I know, it was crazy.
In your home?
In my home, yeah. I was safe and everything was fine. I was practicing, trying to get to the end of a phrase, and the next thing I knew, I woke up on the ground.
That's crazy.
And it was okay. Everything was fine, and the oboe was fine. And I remember telling my dad about it, and he was like, gosh, maybe the oboe isn't right for you. And I was like, no. I didn't want my parents to block me again. You blocked me on drums once. You blocked me on trumpet. No, I want to play the oboe.
Yes, don't block me on the instrument that I actually enjoy.
That's right. So I stood up for myself that time, and it was weird because I had a hard time as a kid finding my voice, and standing up for myself. So that was a very rare example. When I could say to my dad, no, he was like, maybe you shouldn't play the oboe. And I was like, no, I really like it. I'm playing the oboe. And I never fainted ever again. I got used to it. I built up more lung pressure or whatever it was. So capacity. So that's a little bit about my background. So then I got quickly pretty good at the oboe, and I got to play in orchestras, and orchestras was a whole nother world. I got this amazing opportunity when I was in high school to play with a college level orchestra in LA called the American Youth Symphony.
Okay.
And so we were playing major pieces of symphonies, repertoire of the real thing, Strauss tone poems and Mahler symphonies and Brahms symphonies and Bartok Concerto for Orchestra, intense pieces that normally you wouldn't play as a high schooler. So I got these incredible experiences, and one of the concerts in particular just completely changed my life. It so blew me away. It was hard to describe, Taylor. It was it was the finale of Mahler's Third Symphony, and I was playing fourth oboe or something in this huge orchestra, and the sound was incredible. The volume was incredible. It was also one of the most beautiful things I'd ever heard, and it was the climactic moment where I'm playing so loud, but the brass was so loud behind me I couldn't even hear myself. And I was part of something bigger and more beautiful. It was almost like an out-of-body experience.
And this was the first time that you've ever felt like that.
Yeah, because I had been. I mean, I was feeling really good about like playing the oboe, and I was getting to play in bands and orchestras and stuff. But this particular experience was magical in a way that I couldn't describe.
Oh, that's so nice.
And so like I just thought, oh my gosh, there's something more to it than this. So I still didn't know what I wanted to do for my life. Some people thought I should go into oboe because I was good. So they thought, why don't you like go to like college or conservatory for oboe or something? And somehow I came from like a family of scientists, a very kind of academic oriented family where my parents were both professors and stuff. And so I couldn't see that life really for myself somehow. So I just applied to a bunch of different colleges.
Yeah. Did you just want to keep it as something for fun? Was that kind of the mentality? It's like you wanted to separate like career and what was fun and
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I somehow playing the oboe really well in those grades from like 7th grade, but especially like once I started getting good at it, like 9th grade, 10th, 11th, 12th, it gave me confidence to do well in other things too. And I sometimes tell this story to, high schoolers when I visit the schools here in Cheyenne. But like being good at my instrument gave me more confidence. So I felt more outgoing with friends. I started getting better grades. I decided to run for student body president at my junior high, and I did, and I won. And then I was student body president at my high school. So I was kind of one of those like music geeks, but also like interested in a lot of other things.
Right.
So music wasn't my only thing, but it actually helped me to find out who I was
in other parts of your life.
Yeah.
That is so insanely cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said it helped you like gain confidence in your personal life too, standing up to your parents.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wait, that's so sweet.
I know. And it helped me make more friends, some of my best friends, but also even my non-music friends. It helped me like figure out like just be more confident in who I am.
So you losing your clarinet was the best thing that could have happened to you.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
It's like at the time it seemed like this was a really bad thing and I was in kind of trouble and everything. But it's like it really happened for a reason. It was amazing. It's such an incredible silver lining. It's like I wouldn't be here talking with you if it wasn't for stopping for ice cream that day. Because like it set me on this whole path of music being important to me. So then I wasn't sure that music was going to be my life. When I graduated high school, I just applied to a whole bunch of really good colleges because, I don't know, there was a bit of that expectation in my family growing up. So I ended up going to Princeton, and I swear my oboe playing was part of what helped me get in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had all the grades and all the extracurriculars and everything too, but yeah, so they wanted a hotshot oboe player in the Princeton Orchestra. It helped.
Yeah.
So I went to Princeton, and I still didn't think I was going to major in music. I thought I was going to play oboe in the orchestra, take music classes, but maybe I don't know, be a lawyer. Or, I don't know, something. I wasn't sure, but yeah. So, but yet I had a music professor there who saw something in me. I took a class of his when I was a freshman, and then he heard me in the Princeton Orchestra, and I guess with my comments in this class, and then hearing me at the orchestra, he said, there's something about you that you strike me as you could be a conductor. I'm like, conductor? Ooh, what a neat idea.
Yeah.
A lot of people who play in bands and orchestras think that would be cool to do that.
Yeah.
And so I had that kind of mentality, oh, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it wasn't ever something that I could ever really seriously thought about. But in the back of my mind and in my heart, I still had that idea that finale of Mahler's Third Symphony was so powerful and so moving. Like, there was something magical about it. So maybe that's something I should do. So I ended up studying with that guy, and he, and I ended up majoring in music, which was kind of interesting. I never thought I was going to do that. I thought I was going to major in languages or English.
Right.
I almost did a double major with English, but I was really into German and Spanish and literature and stuff.
Okay, fun.
So yeah, all that. So, but if it wasn't for that one professor in college, I probably also wouldn't be here. So he really set me on my path. And then after college, he helped me get set up with an amazing opportunity to be like a student, but also like an assistant conductor with an orchestra in Germany and their conductor. So yeah.
You got to study abroad?
Yeah. It was after college. It was weird. And it wasn't even through a university at all. So like I just like went to Germany and like got an apartment, and it was like the assistant conductor of the Southwest German Radio Orchestra. And
so you got it because did he go with you or was it just?
It was just me. But he made the connection between me and the conductor of that orchestra.
God.
So I was like that conductor's protege kind of thing. And it was amazing. He was also that conductor in Germany was also the teacher of the conducting class at the Mozarteum in Salzburg. It's a really great music school in Austria. And so I would follow him there and be part of his classes there. I also had another music professor I worked with in the summers in Maine, but he lived in Paris. And so when I was in Germany, I would go to Paris for a couple weeks at a time and study with him in Paris.
Oh my
It
God.
was the most amazing experience. So yeah,
my God.
it was great. And there's just such incredible music making all over Europe in terms of orchestras, right?
Yeah.
And other things too. But like for the orchestra world, in a way, like, you know, I got to hear the Berlin Philharmonic and sit in the front row, like many times. And it was just, for me, the Berlin Philharmonic is like the ultimate. It's like the greatest orchestra in the world.
Yeah.
And it was just, by that point I was smitten. Like I knew when that professor said, "You seem like a conductor" to me. One of the things I liked about that was that I've always wanted to know more about the background of the composers and the pieces instead of just knowing the oboe part, you know? So it gave me the opportunity to study the scores, to study music history, to know like what was Schumann thinking when he wrote this piece or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, so it helped to like open up this whole other side of me. So then after a year of doing that in Europe, I decided, oh God, I better get really serious. And like, I've never really actually been to a proper like music degree.
Yeah.
Because at Princeton, even though I majored in music and I got a certificate in conducting, whatever that might mean.
Right.
You know, there were gaps in my training, you know, like Princeton was known for composition and musicology and some theory. And so I had a lot of that. But like, there was things that if I was getting serious about a conducting career or wanting to have a conducting job, I needed to learn certain things. So I knew I had to come back to like a grad school or conservatory or something. So yeah. And that's how I ended up in Minnesota. They had a really special program that was completely unique, and this doesn't exist anymore, which is too bad. But
oh, dang. Okay.
yeah, it was a master's and doctorate degree in orchestral conducting. And instead of just working with a university orchestra like you normally would in a degree like that, you actually have these apprenticeships with the Minnesota Orchestra, which is a world-class orchestra, St. Paul Chamber Orchestra, the Minnesota Opera, the Minnesota Composers Forum. So it sounded too good to be true. So I did that. So I got my master's and doctorate there. I was the apprentice conductor of the Minnesota Orchestra. But yeah, that's where I ended up going. So I moved to Minneapolis, and it was hard because at the time felt like I was at a crossroads. I really enjoyed my time in Europe, and I thought if I wanted like a big conducting career, I should stay in Europe. And maybe study that stuff at a music school here. Like go like officially be part of the Mozarteum with the guy who was my teacher.
Yeah.
But I was also really feeling homesick for America.
Yeah.
It was interesting because like I don't know if you've ever had this experience of living in another country or being out of the country for an extended period of time. But like one of the most powerful things was I was living in Germany for a year, you know, and for some reason, I heard our national anthem there, and I just started bawling. Oh. And I knew this isn't right. You know, this was a good experience, but I don't think I can like set myself up to have a whole life and stay in Europe and have a European career. So I just wanted to come back to this country. But I was kind of looking for my next big thing. And after a while, my then fiance and I were like, kind of like, maybe we need to like go to a bigger market. Like Minneapolis is a great classical music scene, but like, maybe we should go for like New York. She was an oboist and I was like an oboist turned conductor. Yeah. And so we thought about going to New York, and then I got this opportunity in Dubuque, Iowa, like of all places, like a small town. So I became the music director of the Dubuque Symphony, and that was like 2000. Yeah. And yeah, and I've been there ever since. So this is my 25th season. And then, it's not unusual for a music director of a small orchestra to have multiple orchestras. So when I saw the job opening for Cheyenne, I remembered my former teacher from Minneapolis, Mark Russell Smith, who was the conductor here, and all the good things he had to say about the orchestra and the community. And I was like, yeah, Cheyenne, that somehow feels right. And I also had spent a couple of summers in Aspen. So like I remember seeing, like driving from Minneapolis to Aspen, I'd see the turnoff for Cheyenne. Cheyenne.
Cheyenne.
And there's something about the name Cheyenne. It keeps coming up in my life.
So the distance wasn't like a hesitation for you between the Iowa and
No, not at all. I don't know why. I didn't even like think about like what the commute would be like, but and it hasn't been too bad. But yeah, so I started here in 2008, and I've been the conductor, and this is my 17th season of doing insane. Both back and forth. It's weird.
I need to bring this up again. I know we talked about this when I interviewed you for American Escapades and stuff. Yeah, it's like the thing you do for kids and teens and like everyone in the community, and kind of like how you had mentors, and now I feel like you mentor others in a similar way. And
I try to. Yeah,
it's just, I love that you do that. Like the beach can, and you really like give into the, that was the best, by the way. But I've heard that you've dressed up as like Darth Vader before and like that too. But like the stuff you do for kids in the community is fantastic. And like letting them come up on stage and conduct is just like so fun. Meaningful. And I remember you said to me that music is like a teen's lifeline. Yes. So, and I feel like based on what you've said to me, music was kind of your lifeline too. So
it helped me figure out who I was and all that stuff.
Yes, it made you come into your own, and like in so many ways, like not only your career but your personal life. I love how full circle that is. But yeah, like what does it truly mean to you to kind of be a mentor to kids and teens now, and do those lunch and learns that you guys do? And
I feel like it's the most important work I do, actually. Like our educational concerts, I feel like are times when the orchestra really has an opportunity to change lives. That somebody out there could be listening to a symphony concert for the first time, want to play an instrument, and that could change a life. Maybe they don't end up becoming a professional flute player or a violinist or something, but still it's something that opens up talent and creativity and healing and joy and connections and friends for people, as it did for me. I mean, music is such an incredible blessing. We can't even like wrap our minds around all the different ways that it brings people together. It heals, it pays back. It's, and of course there are studies that show that people who do music, kids who do music in school, they get better grades, more of them go to college and stuff like that. And all that is true too, but it's also just like, the heart of it, like music is something that helps awaken people's souls.
Yeah.
And I told the story about losing my clarinet when I stopped for ice cream that day, and I'll never forget. I told this story to a lot of classrooms over the years because it's kind of my way of connecting with them. Like, you like ice cream? Guess what? I like ice cream.
Yeah.
And guess what? Like, was just like a normal kid. Like, I played music in school when it was like available in the public school. It's not like I started piano when I was 2.
Yeah.
So there's that. But then like when I told that story, sometimes I get like thank you notes from classrooms, drawings and thank you notes and stuff. And there are many that have really touched me over the years and that I keep. And there's one with that particular story that just touched me in an incredible way. And it was here in Cheyenne with one of the classes. And it was this beautiful drawing of me as a kid walking with my ice cream. It was an ice cream drumstick. Walking with my ice cream drumstick and walking home. And he did this like crayon drawing. And then there was writing. And his writing, sometimes it's a teacher's writing, but this was his writing that said, thank you for coming to our school. Now I know that even the bad things sometimes happen for a reason.
That's so cute.
Yeah, and I'm wondering like, what's going on in that young little guy's life? What is he connecting with? What are the bad things, and that there's silver linings and, Anyway, I'm starting to do more work with kids in Iowa. There's an amazing organization there called Centrally Rooted that I'm going to start doing more because I feel like I want to do more with kids. I don't necessarily see myself as a teacher, but I absolutely love going on school visits, going to the Boys and Girls Club. I've been to the Boys and Girls Club here in Cheyenne so many times. They know me really well. But like, I try to make a point of getting to every elementary school. here in Cheyenne. And sometimes it takes it's like a cycle of a couple of years. Like, oh, I haven't been back to, Coyote, whatever, it's like, it's a couple of years, but like I want to get to each one of them. And then I also love to go in and conduct the high school orchestras and junior high orchestras and bands too. So I do that as well.
If I asked you this ever, it was a very long time ago, but you don't see yourself you see yourself doing this for literally the rest of your life, right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of been an interesting recently in my personal life, I've had a kind of a crossroads where I was like, I had to decide, do I want to start stepping back? Do I want to start thinking about retirement, even though I feel like I'm way too young for that. But I had the opportunity to start going down that path and to just do more travel, and it didn't feel right to me. I feel like there's so much more music to bring out and healing and beauty to bring out, So I'm kind of double downing on it now. So yeah, I love what I do. I feel super blessed.
Yeah.
There was a time earlier in my career though, Taylor, where I was trying to get a better job, trying to it's tough when you also want to have a comfortable life, provide for your kids, have a family and stuff like that. And there was a time when I just had the Dubuque Symphony and I was really close to having to give up music just to be able to support my family. There was a time when I thought, shoot, I mean, I love what I do but I'm not making enough. And maybe this is selfish of me. I have responsibilities as a dad now, and it gets bad when you're shopping at the generic grocery store and can barely afford diapers, It's
Right.
it was tough. And the interesting thing that many people here in Cheyenne don't realize is that the Cheyenne Symphony kind of saved me from a corporate job. So I had a very good friend, still my best friend, Danny, growing up. And so he was going to get me a job at Google. When I was seriously thinking, I think I don't want to leave music, but I have to provide for my family.
Yeah.
And so then I was this close to leaving the Dubuque Symphony and never would have been in the Cheyenne Symphony.
No, yeah.
And moved to Silicon Valley and tried to make it there with my friend Danny. And then
work for Google. That's crazy.
Right, and work for Google.
Oh my God.
So, but then the Cheyenne Symphony came and I got the job and it literally helped confirm this is what you're supposed to be doing. Now you can afford to raise your kids. Now the downside is you're going to be in Cheyenne away from them for 50 days a year, but that's okay. It was a small price to pay.
Right.
And so getting the Cheyenne Symphony literally was as important as stopping for ice cream or that music professor in college in my journey of staying with music and making music an important part of my life. So the Cheyenne Symphony, I can't ever pay that back because it let me continue my dream of being a conductor.
Yeah. And supporting your family.
Yeah.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Yeah. I haven't really told that story before, so I'm really glad I got to finally tell that. And I hope people in Cheyenne can hear this.
Yeah. No, me too.
Yeah.
That was our arts and entertainment reporter, Taylor Staples, with Cheyenne Symphony Orchestra conductor and music director, William Intriligator. And I'm here with Taylor again at a later date. Thanks for bringing us that conversation. It was really fun to listen to. But now you are bringing us the upcoming events in Cheyenne and Laramie County.
Yes, I am. So today there will be a Minecraft party from 2 to 4 p.m. at the library. Then Cheyenne Little Theater Players will perform Steel Magnolias once again at 7:30 p.m. at the historic Atlas Theater. And South High School will perform School of Rock at 7 p.m. Then on Saturday, March 29th, the Cheyenne Small Business Market will take place at the Cheyenne Ice and Event Center from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The Cheyenne Botanic Gardens will have a Zentangle Easter egg event from 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And Cats and Coffee Connections will host a Cats on Mats event from 11 a.m. to noon. Also on Saturday, South High School will perform School of Rock one last time at 2 p.m. Drag Queen Bingo will be held at 6 p.m. at Red Lion Hotel. Then at night, the Lincoln is having a punk/metal night at 7 p.m. and CLTP will perform Steel Magnolias again at 7:30 p.m. Then on Sunday, March 30th, CLTP has their final showing of Steel Magnolias at 2 p.m. and Cats and Coffee Connections is hosting their March Book Club from 4 to 6 p.m. Then on Monday, March 31st, kids can learn balloon twisting with alpaca globo balloons from 10 to 2 p.m. at the library. And people can make paper mache monsters at the Cheyenne Creativity Center at 5:30 p.m. Then on Tuesday, April 1st, there will be an April Fool's Magic Show with Byron Gray from 10 to 10:45 a.m. at the library. Or will there be? April Fools. Then on Wednesday, April 2nd, the Rocky Mountain Raptors will come to the library to talk about how raptors survive in the wild from 10:15 to 11 a.m. Then there will be fairy mini golf at the library from 2 to 3:30 p.m. and an earring making class from 3:30 to 5 p.m. And lastly, on Thursday, April 3rd, a bug safari with a butterfly pavilion event will be from 10:15 to 1:45 at the library. And for this event, there's different sessions for different age groups, so check the website to be sure you show up at the right time slot. Then Thankful Thursdays continues with the Cheyenne Rotary after hours. Doors at the Lincoln Way Event Hall open at 4 p.m. Also, the Cheyenne Frontier Days Old West Museum will host a patron night and business after hours event from 4 to 5 p.m. And finally, Laramie County is Better Together is holding a Connecting Through Understanding workshop from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the Cheyenne Creativity Center.
Great. Thank you, Taylor. Appreciate that. Now, before we wrap up today's episode, here's a few of our top stories and headlines from the past week. U.S. Representative Harriet Hageman announced Tuesday that her upcoming town halls will be online only due to safety concerns following a raucous event in Laramie last week that made national news. She said the decision came after threats of violence from the Democratic Party, while members of the party are still demanding answers from her. Former and current employees of the Cheyenne Veterans Affairs Medical Center are raising concerns about a chaotic onslaught of employee terminations induced by the Department of Government Efficiency after reports that the Trump administration plans to cut up to 80,000 jobs in the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, including personnel in Cheyenne. Governor Mark Gordon let a bill go into law that made Wyoming the first state in the union to require proof of U.S. citizenship to register to vote. A few days later, President Donald Trump signed an executive order requiring this across the country. After a tumultuous election in the Laramie County Republican Party that was held last week, both its website and Facebook page were deleted. A new unofficial page is back up, and members of the party are working on getting the website back up. You can read the full stories of those in print or on our website, wyomingnews.com. That's all for this week's episode of The Perch. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to check back next Friday for more.